Hello everyone, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos here for iChess. Welcome to this new video where we'll be talking about the Caro-Kann Defense. And this is one of the most solid defenses you can play against e4. It was played by world champions like Anatoly Karpov and many other strong grandmasters. Let's see what this defense is all about. White starts the game with e4, and here we play with c6. Here we have the Caro-Kann defense. If we compare the Caro-Kann with other defenses, the main idea, as you'll realize in this video, is to get our bishop out before playing e6. In a lot of defenses, in a lot of openings, black struggles finding a good square for this bishop, and with the Caro-Kann we are trying to fix this from the get-go. So after c6, usually white plays with d4. We have other sublines, but d4 is by far the main move for white. We play with d5, and here no matter what white plays, we are ready to develop our bishop. I mean, as you can see, we attack the pawn on e4, so white has got, we can tell 4 main moves in this position. The main move is knight to c3. This move protects the pawn on e4. Usually knight d2 leads to the same thing because he protects the pawn on e4. Here we can just take it, and we transpose knight c3. The main line goes to he takes e4 as well. So he takes on e4, and we basically get a transposition. So knight d2, knight c3 are basically the same move. He can also take on d5, or he can play e5, which is known as the advanced variation. So let's start with the advanced variation with e5. This is an aggressive option for white. He's gaining space on the king side. Now we cannot place the knight on f6, and that means we won't have that defender on the king side. However, when he plays e5, we also have the chance of developing our bishop. And that's why the move is bishop f5. If we play e6, this is natural too, but our bishop on c8, as you can see, is stuck inside the pawn chain. And this is exactly what we are trying to avoid. We want to play bishop f5 first, then he usually plays knight f3. Now we play e6, and we get this sort of French defense position, but our bishop, this is the main difference, our bishop is outside the pawn chain. And with this healthy pawn structure, in the future we can try playing on the queen side with c5. Also, we have other ways of developing here. Since we cannot play knight f6, we can try playing knight e7 knight here, or I've seen plans like knight e7 knight c8, trying to play knight b6. We have a lot of possibilities, and we have a complex game ahead. As you can see in this line, we have every single piece on board, so we probably have a lot of maneuvers. So the advanced variation, as I was saying, quite complex. Together with knight c3, e5 is another main line, but for years knight c3 has been the main move, and that is also the line that helps us understand the Caro-Kann ideas. But before we move on to knight c3, let's take a quick look at c takes d5. Here we take with the c pawn on d5. There's no point in taking with the queen, because we want to get some space in the center. We also bring a side pawn closer to the center. We control key squares. And here white has 2 main ways of playing that position. He can play moves like knight to f3, bishop f4, development moves, or he can also play with c4, and this is the well-known Panov variation, where you probably saw positions like this before, where white, he's happy by playing with an isolated pawn. D4, the d4 pawn is not isolated yet, but as you can see, well, here it makes a lot of sense to play with the bishop inside the pawn chain because that position is quite open. So we play e6, and as I was saying, at some point we are gonna take on c4, and white, he'll have this isolated pawn on d4, and this is one of the key positions of the Panov attack. Usually we call it Panov attack, where in those positions where white has this isolated pawn on d4. And you know, here we have a lot of games, but basically what you need to know when you play against the isolated pawn, there are some rules, like trying to blockade it, as black here. If we blockade this pawn, then we have very good chances. White, since this pawn is more or less a weakness, he's gonna try getting rid of it with d5. Another rule is if you trade a lot of pieces, that's favoring black in this case, because the endgames are going to be better for me. Because again, this pawn is isolated, and this pawn, an isolated pawn is usually weak because it cannot be protected by other pawns. It can only be protected by other pieces. So think about this. If we trade every single piece off, then the only potential piece that can protect the pawn on d4 is his king, and that could be an issue in a lot of pawn endgames. So those are the rules to play against an isolated pawn. Trading, trying to play hopefully an endgame, blockading the pawn if possible. Here I can try blockading with knight bd7, knight b6 and knight d5. And as I said, an endgame would be ideal as well. On the other hand, if you're white, you need to try attacking, try not trading too many pieces, and what white usually gets in return of this isolated pawn, he usually gets initiative and the kingside attack.
Buying individual chess courses to add to your collection can get expensive, and waiting for the course or video you're looking for to go on sale can take weeks or even months. So, what's a chess enthusiast to do? Introducing the iChess Club, an exclusive community of chess enthusiasts that enjoy a wild range of benefits, including a permanent 40% discount on virtually all chess courses on our shop. Yes, 40% on all items anytime. But wait, there's more. For those of you who like physical DVDs, we offer unlimited free shipping on all items, anywhere in the world, anytime. You'll also get access to the entire iChess.club library, where we post over a dozen exclusive new videos every month. Our lineup of presenters is of much higher quality than anything you can find on YouTube, with exclusive videos by Simon Williams, Damian Lemos, Valerie Lilov, Brian Smith, Eric Rosen you can't find anywhere else, and even private appearances by world's top grandmasters such as Anatoly Karpov, Judith Polgar, Susan Polgar, and more. There are dozens of other benefits as well, such as an additional 5% off all items already on sale, a free 30-minute preview of every single product in our shop, and the ability to purchase items at the sale price up to 30 days after the sale has ended. There are so many benefits we can't possibly list them all in this video. So, join the iChess Club community today and start saving. Joining is easy and you can cancel at any time. So, what are you waiting for? Sign up today.
It would be wise for him to try a move like this, or this plan with bishop b3, bishop c2 and queen d3, and suddenly he's got a battery attacking the pawn on h7. So a lot of well-known plans. In order to understand these positions, what you have to do is analyze a bunch of games. You can always learn because these positions they are played a lot, and actually we can reach these positions via other defenses as well. Just before we move on to the knight c3 line, let me show you. For instance, imagine you're playing a queen's gambit. You play knight here, knight c3. I play the Tarrasch variation with c5. He plays e3, takes, bishop e7, and as you can see, we are basically analyzing that position from the Caro-Kann defense. So yeah, using another move order, we get a Panov attack as well. And I mean, this is not the only move order. We can reach it from the Nimzo, Caro-Kann, sometimes French. This Queen's Gambit declined as well. We have a lot of lines where we have a Panov attack, and usually white chooses if he wants to play with the isolated pawn. Here, as I said, takes, and c4. This is the Panov. But after d5, let's move on to knight d2 or knight c3. And as I said before, no matter what he plays, knight d2 or knight c3, we'll take on e4, then, well, if he has the knight on d2, he's gonna take 2, and knight takes, and here is where our initial position begins. Knight takes e4. Here we have a lot of ideas for black. The main move is bishop f5. The idea, as I said in the introduction of this video, is to get the bishop outside the pawn chain. Our idea is to play bishop f5, and hopefully we can play e6 next. Apart from bishop f5, we have some tricky moves here. Knight d7, well, this is not the tricky move. I'll show you in a second, but knight d7, this is possible too. We want to play knight f6, and of course we are trying to retake, I mean in case he takes on f6, with the knight on d7. So this is a very solid move for black, and what I like about this is that if white plays natural moves, I play this, let's say he takes, knight takes. The great thing about this is that my bishop can still go out, and then I play e6. So quite a solid position for black, and once we equalize, then we can fight for the advantage, and we start from a solid foundation. So I like this. Knight d7. The tricky line here after knight d7, I mean instead of knight f3, here we see the trick. If white plays a weird looking move like queen e2, this move, I mean if this is the first time you see this move, you'll think this is a nonsense move, blocking bishop f1. This move is not developing at all, but he's got some ideas. The queen is on the same file as our king, and if we play a move like knight gf6, then he's got knight d6 checkmate. And I've seen this checkmate a lot. And this is one of the shortest traps we have in the Caro-Kann. After queen e2, all we have to do is stop knight d6 check. We can play e6 for instance, and then there's no knight d6 mate. The problem with playing e6 is that our bishop on c8 is gonna be inside the pawn chain, and again if we play knight here, yeah, this diagonal is open, but he delivers checkmate with knight d6. So how to react against queen e2? We should play knight d7 to f6. Now he has no tricks, we have the d6 square under control, d4 is under attack, and our bishop is also ready to go out. Now he has to play knight f3, protecting the pawn on d4. I take, queen takes, now I win a tempo, playing knight f6, attacking his queen, and then my pieces go out easily. And black has no problems at all. In fact, white is the one moving the queen too much here, and he's wasting too many tempos and not developing. So yeah, usually these lines like queen e2, they have value because of the trick. But if we play it right, then queen e2 is not a great move. White, he can try playing better moves here. But it is true that queen e2, he can win the game in one move if black is not aware of this knight d6 trap. So yeah, knight d7, this line has been played a lot by Karpov, bishop f5 as well. I have to say, both bishop f5 and knight d7 are the main moves in this position, and the other move I find interesting is knight f6. Believe it or not, this move is underestimated, and I think it's because, well, white, he has to take. I mean, if he plays knight g3, or if he moves the knight somewhere else, then he's wasting a development tempo, and we can just continue developing our pieces. It's like we want to move for free, so he has to take. And now both retakes are possible. If you're looking for an aggressive game, unbalanced game, you can take with the g-pawn. And yeah, once you play like this, you're not looking to castle kingside, you're probably castling queenside, and you're also trying to get some attack, possibly on the g-file. This is possible, and I mean, if you're playing against a lower rated opponent, then this line, you can get a nice position from the get-go. Now, if white knows some theory, well, black is not losing, but we probably have some issues because of the pawn structure. After knight takes f6 check, I can also take with the e-pawn. This was played by Carlsen. Here, well, compared to the other line, we are trying to castle kingside, and these pawns, despite being double pawns on the f-file, it's like the f6 pawn gives us extra protection. We have a solid castle, and then we just continue our development. The only issue we can find in this line is the fact white has like a virtual extra pawn on the queen side. He's got a 4 against 3 on the queen side or center, and on the king side, well, we have a 4 against 3 as well, but as you can see, this 4 on the king side, they, at the moment, they count as 3. But okay, this is quite interesting. I like, for instance, suppose he plays knight f3, here I can play bishop d6. Again, I find this position super solid for black. I can castle rook e8, I can even try playing something like this, and I get the feeling black is like with no weaknesses, and I mean, white, even if he advances his pawn, we can try blockading it. So we have a complex game ahead, and if you want to make sure, I mean, if you want to get a middle game, then this knight f6 move is also possible. With that said, knight d7 and bishop f5, as we were analyzing before, those are the main moves. So let's see the main move in this position, which is bishop to f5, attacking the knight on e4, and here white, he usually plays knight here. There's another move which is knight c5, and this was played by Bobby Fischer. Here b6 is possible, and then after knight b3, oops, yeah, that sound, the program makes that sound when we have a mouse slip, but I think it was something else. So okay, as I was saying, knight c5, b6, knight here, black, he can just develop his queen side and the rest of his pieces, and we got our bishop out, so this is usually equal. And against knight c5, apart from b6, there is another move here which is quite interesting, which is e5. Now, he cannot take the e5 pawn because the knight on c5 is hanging, but you're probably asking what happens if he takes on b7. Well, then we have queen b6. He has to play knight c5, otherwise he loses the piece. And here I have both e takes d4 or bishop takes c5. And we reach an imbalanced position where we have a better center, but white, as you can see, he keeps a healthy pawn structure. Complex. Given the chance, I would still take black. I mean, I have the initiative. That's much more relevant than material or pawn structure, and I can also, after knight c5, I can also play this. Queen takes c4 is not possible because the knight is hanging, and after variations like this, I can play c5, I can continue my development, even bishop b4 check, and I castle soon, and again, I find black's position good because we have a stronger development. Even this move proposed by the computer is interesting because we sacrifice a pawn on d4, but we are playing bishop b4 check and kingside castle in one shot. I mean, in like 2 moves we get bishop b4 and kingside castle in, and then I also have rook e8. It's like most of my pieces are joining the party, and most of his pieces, except knight b3, all of them are on the first rank. So these lines, they are sublines for a reason. I mean, otherwise everybody would be playing knight c5 here. If they play knight here, it's because, well, it is theory, and white has better chances than I mean, if he plays a move like knight c5 or another subline. So knight g3, here we play bishop g6. Here we have both knight f3 and h4. As you can see, we can transpose. The trick is, when he plays h4, well, he's obviously trying to play h5, we play h6. We'll never play h5. I mean, h5, it is not great looking, and our bishop looks odd as well. If we play h6, well, we keep a healthy kingside, and if he plays h5, then we hide our bishop on h7. And if he plays knight f3 first, instead of h4, he's got another positional threat, which is playing knight to e5. White, he's happy if he gets the bishop pair, and if he gets a knight on e5, he'll also have an aggressive knight and a lot of attacking chances. So when he plays knight f3, this is like our rule. We play knight d7. Whenever he plays knight f3, we play knight d7, and we control the e5 square. Now, he cannot play knight e5, because we take, and apart from taking, we also play queen a5 check, and we win a pawn, and probably the game. So knight d7, again, we basically stop knight e5, knight f3, knight d7, and if h4, h6, he can play knight f3, I still play knight d7, and we are transposing to the main line. The move order I usually play is knight f3, here knight d7, again stopping knight e5, h4, here I play h6, obviously. Remember, h5 is not good, because we leave a lot of weak squares on the king side. Again, our bishop looks quite odd. Looks like a pawn crashing into the structure. So knight f3, knight d7, h4, we play h6. He's probably playing h5. This is what everybody plays. Bishop to h7, and now bishop d3 is the main move. Yeah, white, he's trying to trade our active bishop off. As you can see, this bishop is quite annoying. Since white played h4, h5, most of the times he's gonna castle queenside, And that's why he needs to get rid of bishop h7, because that bishop h7 is a potential attacker. So here, bishop takes e3, natural move, queen takes, and here I like e6. Simple, we keep a solid center, we avoid d5, and then we can continue developing our pieces. We have a solid foundation, and what I like about the Caro-Kann is that depending on what he plays, we can try, suppose we play knight f6, bishop e7, in a lot of positions we can try castling kingside, and in other positions we can castle queenside. Both options are on the table, and as you'll realize in a lot of these lines, despite, here we have a lot of fight, a lot of chances for both sides. What I like about this is that if we play an endgame, and this happens a lot, white has a pawn on h5, which is, at the moment it's like a strong pawn, but if we trade a lot of pieces off, then this h5 pawn is a clear target. If we trade everything off, that pawn is alone and we can easily attack it. I don't want to... in this position, we need to finish our development, but in the future we can think about bishop d6, knight f6, and as you can see, that pawn is not well protected. And again, if we think about an endgame, then this h5 pawn is usually a target. So, in this position, let's see this from that beginning, and you'll find this position in tournament play a lot. I would say 90% of games you'll find this line when we have a Caro-Kann. Knight here, bishop g6, knight f3. Here remember the knight e5 trick, so we play knight e7, h4, h6, h5, bishop h7, bishop d3. This is played instantly nowadays. Queen takes, e6, and white, well, here he's got two main moves, bishop d2 or bishop f4. They look like the same, they are not, and the main difference is that, they both try queenside castle, but the thing is bishop d2 allows stuff like queen c7 and bishop d6. If he plays bishop f4, well, he's also trying to queenside castle, but as you can see, he's not allowing bishop d6 nor queen c7. It's like, yeah, bishop f4 is the aggressive option. We cannot play queen c7, we cannot play bishop d6, but we can play a move like queen a5 check. And I love this move because, and this is like a key move in this line. If you know this beforehand, it's easy. If you don't, then, it is tough to find the idea behind queen a5. The main idea is that if he plays bishop d2, if he covers the check, then, I can try bishop b4, which is a spicy line, or queen c7. It's like I wasted tempo with my queen, but I got what I wanted. The bishop is no longer on f4, my queen is on c7, and then I can just play knight f6 and bishop d6. That is the main trick after bishop f4, queen a5. If bishop d2, queen c7. And, queen d2, this, this is possible, but even if I trade queens off, the endgame is quite comfortable for black. By trading queens off, it's like we are out of danger, and in the future we can try attacking this pawn on h5. So white, the other move he can try against queen a5 is c3, but here we play knight to f6, and guess what? He cannot castle kingside, queenside. Well, kingside he can castle, but that's not likely to happen. I was trying to say he cannot castle queenside because the a2 pawn is hanging. And if he castles kingside, first of all, he's hanging the h5 pawn here, but even if h5 is not hanging, if he kingside castles, then he can forget about a kingside attack because his king is there. And usually when white plays this line, it's because at some point he wants to play moves like knight e4, g4. Those moves are stronger if he has the king on the queen side, but in this scenario, this is impossible for white, because I mean, if he advances his kingside pawns here, he's just gonna lose. His king is there, he's just hurting himself. So let's see a line where, I mean, he can try attacking on the king side. Imagine we play this, queen a5, let's say bishop d2, queen c7, this, knight f6. Let's say he plays knight to e4. I play something like bishop e7. Here, for instance, well, maybe in this position, in other position, I'm just trying to show you an example where white can try attacking with a move like g4. He's sacrificing the pawn, true, but he's also opening the g file, and he can gamble a bit here because his king is not there. That is the concept I'm trying to show. And you'll find a lot of lines. It depends on that position, but in a lot of scenarios, black accepts the pawn, then he defends, and he keeps a solid position. In this line, I haven't castled kingside yet, so I can... Now I see white's cards, I can try castling queenside. My king is gonna be safer there. Sometimes white, here for instance knight e4, bishop e7, sometimes he plays a waiting move like king b1, and then, well, if I castle queenside, then he doesn't play g4, and if I castle kingside, then now we are showing our hand, then he plays g4. And if we take, it is risky for us because we have the king there, and opening the g file, well, we have to calculate a lot, but we also need to know that this is risky. And this is probably the main idea of this line where white advances his pawn to h5. So, a lot of lines, a lot of ideas. Of course, this is just an introduction video to the Caro-Kann, but I think it is good to know the ideas and with these ideas in mind, you can see a lot of games and you'll get a good feeling of how to play the Caro-Kann. Remember analyzing games of Karpov, other elite grandmasters as well, but the Caro-Kann has been played by basically everybody, and it is a sound and solid opening for black. I think that the Caro-Kann together with e4, e5 are the best replies against e4 because black, he's playing with a solid foundation. So hopefully you found this video interesting. You have a link below the video, you have an article about this defense. As I said, I hope you found this useful, I hope you could learn something, and of course I want to see you guys in my next videos. Thank you.